What's going on, golf fans? It's your boy Gsluke here with our DFS value plays for this week's Wyndham Championship. Gonna break down the bottom end of the Draftkings pricing and bring you 4 players to help you save some salary in your lineups and, of course, get some much needed ownership leverage as well. You can spend up for an extra stud, get that leverage you need for large field GPPs, and hopefully find yourself at the top of some of those leaderboards come the end of the week. This video dropping a little bit later than usual because your boy does have food poisoning. Was over there at the urgent care center yesterday, getting that all taken care of. So maybe not running 100% right now, but had plenty of time to do research on players, consume plenty of content out there, and I'm ready to bring you guys my top 4 plays priced $8,000 and below on DraftKings. First up this week, we've got Eric Cole, who I feel like we talk up a whole lot here on the channel, and why wouldn't we with his results, right, over the last 3-4 months. If you take a look at just pure good old shots gained, he's top 40 in the field, which doesn't seem all that impressive, but when you take a look at how consistent he's been, how many cuts this guy is making for you, it gets borderline outrageous. So first off, the last 4 or 5 starts, right, T30, T60, T42 finish. That includes a few impressive fields, especially before this recent stretch where he's gone out there and made some cuts. While he hasn't had a bunch of top 10s, top 15s, now we get him back on his home turf, Bermuda grass, right? If you remember, his second place finish at the Honda, which we took him at like $6,400, was on Bermuda grass. If you look at a lot of those fall finishes where he was actually getting into that top 10, top 20, or even there in the spring, early parts of 2022, are when we had these pure Bermuda grass tracks. So when we look at his shots gained putting stats, while they're not crazy compared to his baseline, right? He's already an incredible putter, right? Pretty much no matter what surface you put him on, he's an even better putter, right? Gaining 0.62 shots per round. And like I said, he hasn't been breaking the slate any given week, but look at how consistent this guy has been. He's gaining over half a stroke per round, but with every category but off the tee. And of course, Sedgefield Country Club, the home of the Wyndham, is one of the more, driver, I don't even think driver heavy is the right word. It's the opposite of driver heavy, right? You have a lot of layups off the tee around Sedgefield. It's a lot more about the accuracy than the distance off the tee, which is the type of track that Eric Cole thrives at, right? He's not the best off the tee player, not the longest player off the tee, really not the most accurate player either. So when you give him a chance to lay up, right, use something like an iron, a 3-wood off the tee, that is really going to help his case, right? That brings the field together, right? There's not as much dispersion between the low-end drivers and the top-end drivers when you have this kind of setup, which is exactly what I'm looking for when I play an Eric Cole. It's why I liked him at PGA National, right? It wasn't really about bombing it out there at PGA National as much as it is about avoiding those water hazards. And while it's a little bit of a different test this week, right? Only 5-6 holes with water in play, you still have a player that's extremely consistent and really doesn't have a weakness, right? Except for off the tee, which this week really doesn't matter, right? 0.8 strokes per round on approach over the last 12, gaining 0.6 strokes per round with the putter over the last 12, and only 0.3 around the green, but again, we get him back on Bermuda grass, what should be his by far most familiar surface. It's not even just the Honda Classic stuff, guys. He's literally from right down the street from where I live. Every course down here is Bermuda grass. He's a mini tour legend. Every course, except for like maybe a handful of them, are pure Bermuda grass golf courses. If you're from South Florida, you have a huge advantage compared to a lot of the other players in the field when playing on this kind of surface. So he's been just consistently making cuts every single week. Now maybe because we get him back on Bermuda grass, we get the Eric Cole that's going to finish top 10 or top 5, right? So I think even with the recent form, 13.1%, that's relatively chalky for this range. I think that's fair considering how underpriced he is in this kind of field. And then when you take a look at the track record on Bermuda, I think it makes him worth being even more chalky. I think he could be 20% owned, and I think I might still be playing an Eric Cole. So I know it sounds kind of outrageous. He's one of those guys that I just pretty much play every single week. And when we get him at a course that de-emphasizes off the tee, and it's Bermuda grass, I know we haven't seen him play here before. It feels like this is the kind of golf course where he could literally get his first ever win. So let's see, did he play here last year? I'm gonna have to assume not, right? Because he didn't have his tour privileges. Oh boy, this might be the Eric Cole track. I'll just say that it seems like the perfect course fit. Next up, we've got ourselves Nikolai Havard, who's not the perfect course fit. So unlike an Eric Cole, right, Nikolai Havard, way lower owned than he probably should be, right? He's only 8.4% in my projections. I think in some of the larger field contests, he might even come in lower owned than 8.4%. And given that he's number 9 in recent form, has been absolutely killing it over the last month or so, I don't understand it, right? I know missed cut last time out, but T23, T6, T21 finishes. The guy is really starting to round into form on the PGA Tour. He was always a stalwart over there on the DP World Tour, right? Going out there top 5ing, top 10ing almost every single week. So really, this is a talent level play, right? He's much more known for off the tee. He's a really, really good putter. His Bermuda grass stats, he doesn't have much of a sample. They haven't been great to this point. So that's why the ownership's low, right? You kind of like are programmed to play Nico at a course where it's off the tee heavy, right? Where you're going to see a lot of drivers, where you want to bomb it like 305 to 310 yards plus through the air. But at a course like Wyndham, right, we've seen Adam Scott find success. We found, a few bombers over the last 4 or 5 years that have gone out there and found success. So just because he doesn't fit the golf course perfectly, right, doesn't mean he should be completely overlooked. So, I mean, if Hogard was going to be chalk this week, I'd probably have a completely different stance on his GPP prospects. But given that he's one of the lower owned players here in this, I shouldn't say one of the lower owned, I should say he's like averagely owned for the guys here in this part of the pricing. I think that's a mistake for a lot of the field. So something I meant to mention as well, a lot of these players you'll see me taking are going to be in the AM wave. It does look like there might be an AM wave advantage when it comes to week long. So of course, for my full thoughts on that, check out the live stream later on. But based on some of the forecasts that have come up this morning, it looks like Thursday afternoon might be a little bit stormy, but no thunderstorms as of right now. So it looks like that might just be a little bit nasty out there. And then for Friday afternoon, right? So if tomorrow morning is going to be better conditions, right, because they're not in those storms, Friday afternoon is actually calmer than Friday morning. So you're going to have the nuts conditions tomorrow in the morning, and then on Friday, potentially the better half of the draw too. That would be huge for these AM wave golfers. So another little caveat going with these 4 guys. Next up, we've got Davis Riley at $7,100. And before we get into these last 2, I'll remind you guys, for all of the values that I'm taking, check out my Patreon page. Link is down below. $10 a month gets you access to all of these spreadsheets, of course, without anything blacked out, right? So you've got all my modeling, projections, player pool, all that sort of fun stuff as it updates throughout the week. And you can ask me questions on the Discord. We've got prop stuff being posted, showdown stuff for the weekend. Definitely a great value to check out. But yeah, Davis Riley, $7,100. He's a player that played well here last year. I don't think a lot of people remember that because it wasn't overly sexy, right? So finished T13 there in 2022. He's another player that plays a lot better on Bermuda than you see on most other surfaces. And it's not just the putter. I think a lot of people, when they think about agronomy, right, instantly go to the putting and try and use that as most of their analysis. Around the green, grass types really matter, especially on like Bermuda grass or a past palm grass. And then even with your approach play, it matters, right? There's different types of interactions on the turf. Link style soil is a completely different type of surface than what you have over here in America. And you hear players changing their equipment to compensate for it, right? So if it's changing their equipment, it's clearly going to feel and maybe, interact a little bit differently when you're actually hitting the ball. So for somebody like Riley, who not only raises his baseline putting on Bermuda grass, he also raises that baseline around the green, off the tee, which weird enough, I don't know how that one correlates, but on approach too. So across all 4 categories, Davis Riley's a better player on Bermuda. That is shown by his track record. And of late, he's actually been playing well, which, he went through a stretch of golf that was really tough, right? But he was like missing more cuts than he was making. Though he missed his cut the last time out, T35, T33 finishes. If you look at the last 12 measured rounds, so we just look at the pure shots gained, pretty decent, right? I know off the tee ball striking right around the neutral, but gaining half a stroke with the putter. We zoom out a little bit, it actually gets a little bit better for Davis Riley, which again, he hadn't been playing like this for a lot of 2023. So it's good to see him coming into form. You're not taking a Davis Riley that's just in putrid form like we had been doing for a good part of 2023, but I think you're still getting the same kind of upside, right? I think you just have a higher floor now that he's playing better. So $7,100, I think he's probably $500 cheaper than he should be in this kind of field, and he's only 3.1% out, essentially being overlooked. And once again, another AM wave golfer. And the last player that I'm taking here is Sam Bennett. Another AM wave guy. He's actually one of the last groups off. He's playing with Ludwig Aberg this week. 1% owned. You're going to have those 2 young studs together. I'm sure we'll get them on some sort of the coverage, whether it's ESPN Plus or that sort of thing. But, Yeah, the kid is just much better than the price tag. $6,900. I mean, compared to some of the other names around him, it's disrespectful. It makes no sense. I know he missed the cut last time out, but you're talking about a player that has shown up in major championship fields and played well. T29 at a pretty damn strong field, and a bunch of made cuts. And he's doing it with the ball striking, right? It's not like he's carrying himself with the flat stick. So you take a look at the shot gain metrics, you'll see he's not a horrible putter, by the way. That's the thing. Like he's decent with the putter, right around a neutral, but off the tee, damn good player, very accurate off the tee. And the approach play in most events has been a bright spot. So if he can go out there, be a little bit better with the wedges, which I don't think we've seen him really tested from that 100 to 125 yard range yet. Obviously he has a sample at this point, right, in that range, but we haven't seen him at a course where you're just going to hit a lot of wedges. Maybe Sam Bennett is that kind of guy, right? He's not this big overpowering kind of character that looks like he's gonna beat you up there at the bar, right? He looks a little bit more of that skinny finesse kind of player that maybe is really good with the wedges. We don't really know who Sam Bennett is, but what I do know about the kid is that he's really good at golf. He's in the AM wave. He's 1% owned, and kind of like Davis Riley, he's probably like $500 too cheap. So I'll be playing him. I'm surprised that more people aren't playing a Sam Bennett this week. And in GPPs, that, unknown, right, not knowing how good Sam Bennett is a huge, huge plus, right? Especially at 1% ownership, right? We're not playing this guy in a third of our lineups or anything like that. Maybe 10% if we're getting frisky about it. And I think that kind of investment is definitely worthwhile taking here. Alrighty guys, that is all I've got for the value plays this week. Smash that like button on the way out here. Also comment down below your top play on DraftKings priced $8,000 and below. And catch us at the live stream tonight, right? 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be going through all the weather notes, whether there's going to be that edge that I was talking about. Go through your questions, some of the chalk, some prop stuff as well. And just overall, get ready to go out there and have ourselves a week for the Wyndham. Looking forward to it. It's our last chance to see a lot of the players out here on tour. So they better go out there and make the best of that opportunity. I'm looking forward to it, guys. Hope to see you at the top of some of those leaderboards. Hope to see some outright bets cashed, perhaps. So let's go out there and get it this week, boys.